Good afternoon, dear wife.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this webinar organized by the FTTH Council Europe. I'm Vincent Garnier. I will be hosting the session. I'm the Director General of the FTTH Council Europe. The webinar is sponsored and co-hosted by Sitetracker, a member of the FTTH Council, and is titled A Unified Vision Driving Collaboration in Broadband Deployment. We will give to all participants and delegates a few more time to join us. So bear with me, we will formally start within 30 seconds. Thank you. So I think we can start. Amerigo, if you could bring us back to the beginning of the presentation. I just want to start with a few initial consideration, housekeeping item concerning this webinar. Starting with the next slide with a brief introduction about the FTTH Council Europe. For those who are not familiar with our association, we are a trade association created in 2004 with the objective to promote full fiber network as the most future-proof and sustainable access network technology. We organize events like this one, a physical event like the FTTH conference, and we regroup 165 members now, being either vendor, operator, or investor involved in the FTTH deployment in Europe. The next slide. This webinar and is part of a series of webinars we are proposing to our audience on a monthly basis. And we hope that it contributes to providing more insights about this exciting market of FTTH deployment in Europe. There are a few housekeeping items I want to go through on this slide. First of all, the webinar is recorded, so the replay, access to the replay will be shared with you after the event. We consider that having given your consent through the process of onboarding for this webinar, you're okay to receive further communication to be invited to the next session we will organize in the near future. And concerning this session, of course, you are free and encouraged to ask questions to our panel by using the question section in the control panel that must appear on your screen. So you cannot speak, but you can type your question, and we will do our best to address them at the end of the session. If they are not addressed, we will forward them to our panelists and make sure you have an answer after the webinar. The next slide, and I guess I would directly introduce you to both our speaker and with the topic. The objective of this session is quite broad and is really to cover a variety of topics like the state of FTTH coverage in Europe, penetration, how the market has evolved, and how we overcome the challenges of modern deployment, and the role of modern technologies in bridging the global digital divide, with this idea of how cooperation between the different market stakeholders influence these topics. So with me to participate in this session, I have Amerigo Garafano. Amerigo is Vice President Telecom EMEA at Sitetracker, and he will be co-hosting the conversation with me. Two very interesting representatives of operators are also joining us. Alessio Agostinelli is head of digital factory at Open Fibre. Open Fibre is an important operator in Italy. And Christoph Sommerberg is Senior Vice President Public Affairs at Deutsche Glasfaser, which, like the name indicates, is based in Germany. So thank you very much for participating. we are very much interested in welcoming your insights and your view on these important questions. And maybe I hand it over briefly to Amerigo for your introduction, Amerigo. I think you're muted, sorry. You need to unmute yourself.
Indeed, now I should be open. Thank you very much, Vincent, for the introduction and for hosting us in this interesting webinar. Thank you, Alessio and Christophe, two distinguished guests and panelists with us today. And of course, a warm welcome to all the attendees that are participating online. As a Sitetracker, we are quite very much engaged in the deployment of the fiber networks, because our solution basically enables the service providers, contractors, and anyone who is involved in the delivery chain of fiber network deployment in accelerating such deployment. And therefore, we believe that the theme of collaboration, which is central to this webinar today, is important to be addressed. And I'm very excited to co-host this webinar with the FTTH Council. And the agenda is basically going through the state of the market, kindly presented by Vincent. He always gives us a very interesting updates. And then we go straight to the panel discussion. And finally, as announced before, also a set of Q&A, either responded today or afterwards through emails. Vincent, please, your state of the market update.
So yes, a few elements just to set the context of FTTH deployment in Europe. And I just want to say that these slides are very busy. There are much more slides and content available on the website of the FTTH Council. So do not hesitate to go there and download all information you can find on the market provided by our market panorama. In a nutshell, we passed the threshold of 62% in Europe in terms of home passed in proportion of the number of households. So, which means that we have done more than half of the job. But if you look at the bottle from the other angle, there's still 40% of households which have not potentially access to fiber. And if we look at that potentiality, the bulk of it comes from three countries: UK, Germany, and Italy. And two representatives, at least of Italy and Germany, are with us today. So a lot of what needs to happen in Europe will depend on how things are evolving in Italy and in Germany. But coverage is one thing. What is also important for us is the level of penetration and adoption of fiber. If you go to the next slide, we are sharing information concerning what we call penetration, which is the number of subscriber using full fiber network to have internet access as proportion of the number of households. And there you see that the percentages are much lower. In average, only 30% of households in Europe are actually accessing internet via full fiber networks. This is because out of the 60% having potentially access to fiber, only 50% of them, only half of them are actually taking it. We call it the take-up rate, which is around 50%. And we have still a long way to go to increase that percentage and make sure that all the deployment of fiber which is taking place throughout Europe is effectively used by end user businesses and citizens. And here you see, for example, that's a percentage of subscriber penetration is of 12% in Italy, 7% in Germany. Those numbers were at the end of September 22. So hopefully they have increased quite significantly, and we will release the new market panorama result at our conference in March in Berlin. Next slide, Amerigo. One of the key characteristics of the evolution of the market is that a lot of the deployment of fiber has been made by the so-called alternative operator, by non-incumbent. What you can see on this slide on the left part is that out of all home passed as reported in September 2022, approximately 60% are owned by alternative operator. And they have been a very important driving force to change the market and to impose fiber as a growing and as the best technology in their respective market. There are a variety of business models among the alternative operator. Some of them are wholesale only, and that's the case of Open Fiber. Others are more integrated, like Deutsche Glasfaser, having directly acting as an internet service provider as well as operator of network. So there's not like there is only one unique model which works. It very much depends on the strategy of the operator and on the circumstances of the market they are active in. And more can be found to analyze this different model in a report which is available on our website. And my final slide for the introduction, Amerigo, will just give a view of our forecast. We are expecting, or we were expecting in September 22, the growth of FTTH deployment to continue at approximately the same pace, both for coverage, home pass, and subscriber. We are projecting in this number that by 2028, the coverage will reach something like 80%, while the percentage of subscriber will be slightly above 50%. We will see the next result because we are currently seeing a softening of the market in terms of investment. So maybe this will influence a little bit our projection for the next 5 years. Well, we will know more when we release the data at the conference. But on the longer term, we're quite confident that there are some very solid trends in favor of the continuation of the investment in favor of fiber. And I guess our two speakers will share their view on that point during the discussion. So with that, Amerigo, I think I'll transition to the second part of the discussion.
Yes, indeed. I think, thank you so much, Vincent, for your introduction. Now we move into the real panel discussion. So let's warm up with some initial question. Vincent, maybe you would like to start with the business
yes. And I think that would be a direct continuation of what I was just presenting, asking both Christophe and Alessio, you know, what is the position of your company in your market, and what is the perspective you see for the evolution of the fiber deployment and of our business? Maybe starting with Alessio to introduce Open Fiber and share a little bit the perspective you see for your organization in Italy.
Okay. First of all, good evening to everyone, and thanks to FTTH Council and Sitetracker to invite me as panelist in this webinar. With Open Fiber is an Italian telco operator, and the mission of the Open Fiber from the beginning is the mission of reducing the digital divide in Italy. And as Vincent told before, this kind of purpose should be reached by two factors. The first one is the coverage of FTTH network, and the second one is the penetration of the usage in the for the end user in these kind of networks. Some figures about Open Fiber. Up to now, Open Fiber has a footprint of more or less 14 millions of households passed. It means that it's the greater pure FTTH operator in Italy, in one of the most relevant wholesale only operator in Europe. What is our business model? Our business model is a wholesale only business model. It means that we guarantee the same services at the same level of services to all our customers, and our customers are the main retail operators in Italy and some new operators coming from different sector and market that decided during this year to implement new services in the telco sector. And speaking about the penetration, as Christopher told, there is an issue in Italy, and this is related to the low penetration with comparison to the availability of FTTH resources. But this is one of the questions we deal during this panel.
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe in parallel, Christoph, same question. Maybe describe briefly your model and your perspective for Deutsche Glasfaser in Germany.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Amerigo. Same question, different answer maybe. Deutsche Glasfaser is also a privately financed company, and we roll out fiber networks in rural and in suburban Germany, not only for retail customers, also for business, for mobile operators, and also for wholesale operators. So our model is a bit different than the open fiber model, because we combine demand aggregation and our own retail service with an open access model. Why is that so? The fiber market in Germany is quite not yet mature. So a lot of customers and a lot of operators are hooked to the old copper network and to copper-based services. And therefore, this model gives us a certain independence of the traditional retail operators that are still using copper services to secure a sufficient utilization of our fiber network. From the size, we are not as big as open fiber. We've currently rolled out around 2 million households, commercially secured more than 1 million more, and have around 600,000 active customers at the moment. So the penetration is high, but certainly needs to be higher, especially as in those areas in suburban and rural is usually just one passive network that is economically sustainable in the long run. So that for short, and back to you.
Thank you, Christoph and Alessio, for your answers. Definitely, you come with different perspective, but the challenge is the same. So I would like to ask, since you are both coming from the largest EU countries with the most work to be done on the FTTH network to reach the objectives of the gigabit society by 2025, can you share your perspective on what are the unique challenges for such an ambitious FTTH expansion plan in your country? Alessio first, maybe?
Yeah, okay. As you told, a great work has to be done, but what I have to underline is that a great work has been already done, because if you think about what was the situation in 2018, the penetration in the availability of FTTH network in Italy was 22% of the wholesale the whole territory. Now we are more or less in the percentage of 55 of availability. It means that due to the work of Open Fiber and also to the other operators in Italy, we accelerate a lot. In this moment, and as Open Fiber, I can say that we have some programs with some targets, and that this availability will grow during the next years. what is important from my point of view, from our point of view, is to focus on the other hand of this story, that is the penetration, because now the penetration is in Italy less than 20% of the availability of the network. So it means that with comparison to the other countries in Europe, we have an issue that should be faced and should be solved by I don't know if it's a matter of which off or only a migration, but we have to push a migration from copper to the fiber.
Thank you, Alessio. Christoph?
Yeah, Italy obviously has accelerated away from Germany because we were closer in 2018, as you said, Alessio, and that is due to a couple of factors. We still have an absolute high dynamic in Germany, but we still have more connections to cover. It's more than 30 million we still have to go, and that is due to a couple of factors where we do or have to do things differently. One is certainly that we have high administrative requirements due to the way we should deploy fiber. So it's almost always in the ground, not on poles, not using aerial cables if necessary, if possible. We do have issues with market power right now with Deutsche Telekom, so kind of withholding demand on third-party networks. We have also issues due to the fact that we have a generously financed state aid program since 2015, with now still more than 25 billion euros sloshing around in projects looking for capacities. So a lot of things are interfering with an efficient deployment path that private operators would like to seek. So a lot of challenges, still a lot of things to do, but up to now we maintain quite a high rate of deployment in that case. So that's just for short.
And Christoph, to go back to the list of challenges you've just mentioned, are there specific challenges to cover the more rural areas in Germany? Is the development going in parallel, equally the same speed for high density and low density, or do you see a specificity for the lower density part of the country?
Yeah, we saw a lot of market entry since 2017, especially for the rural and suburban areas. Also due to the fact that there was no cable network, so you had no potentially gigabit enabling network in those areas. In addition, at least what we saw is that the penetration and the initial demand were higher in rural areas, despite a demographic that should use gigabit capable internet services less. We found most of the audience, most of our citizens willing to sign up, especially for those services. So that's something that is unusual. Challenges remain that there's a lot of ground to cover to connect those houses, to do it underground. Nevertheless, if there's problems, technological progress and also process progress solving a lot of those problems if you let industry innovate.
Thank you. And I think, Amerigo, I think it could be interesting to ask our audience to give us some element, and I will launch the first poll we have prepared, which you should normally see it coming. The question we're asking you is, in your opinion, how would you rate the current pace of broadband deployment in Europe? So you have the choice between ahead of expectations, meeting your expectation or below expectation. I can imagine that most of you have high expectations, so it may be difficult to meet this ambitious goal. But please share your view. I can see that you are currently responding. We have, I think, half of you having already responded. Let's give you a bit more time to cast your vote. Maybe 20 seconds, and then I will share the result and let our panelists share their 2 cents about the outcome of this poll. So I think we have sort of stabilization of voters. So let me close and share the result. I hope you can see. We have a clear majority finding the current situation of investment being below expectation, 29% meeting expectation, and we have a very few representation being super happy with the current situation of the deployment. Maybe Alessio, what are your thoughts about these results?
My point of view is that even if we accelerated in terms of coverage, as we said, and even if we have a plan, the target of the plan is very challenging. It means that we know it's challenging. We know that it's difficult, but we work on it every day.
And Christoph, are you surprised by the results?
Absolutely not, but it gives you maybe also an insight into our audience. I would suspect we have around 30% of engineers in there, which are usually very people that take in reality and take in resources and everything. So for me, this result is it showcases that let's say the policy arena has not done enough to really manage expectations correctly and have set goals that consistently can be and will be missed due to the fact that we have not taken into account the resources needed to, in the end, achieve those goals. So I think in most cases, it's not money that is missing, but it's either efficiency or the resource, especially in deployment, in question in the first place.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's take let's say an optimistic view of this result, and let's try now to get into the real core of our panel discussion and see how we can, as major players in this ecosystem, do something to, let's say, to remove this frustration that the broadband market is below expectation. So one point, which is at the center also of this webinar, is about collaboration. So let's see how you, two of the major leaders in the great markets of Italy and Germany, how do you foster the efficient collaboration between stakeholders to ensure that there is a smooth broadband deployment process? That means how you collaborate internally within your companies, trying to break silos. How do you collaborate and communicate with external parties like vendors, subcontractors, and so on? I think it's good if we can share some best practices. So maybe I will ask Alessio first.
Yeah, as you can imagine, collaboration is fundamental for reach targets and objective in a complex project as is the deploy of a broadband, ultra broadband network in the whole territory, Italian territory. And if I have to choose to focus on one aspect, I can give you our experience in the collaboration with the government in terms of simplification of bureaucracy. because in the rural areas we have more than 6,000 of different municipalities that we have to match, to face, and which we have to collaborate. And if there is, even if there is a guideline, each municipality can play a different role along with the different situation, local different situation. So what we have done, in addition to have a continuous communication with this municipality, and we have a department that is dedicated only to have this kind of relationship with them. We had a strong collaboration with all the governments in Italy, and all the governments that they during these years helps us in new simplified rules in order to speed up this kind of project in terms of permits, in terms of authorization. Just to give you a flavor, a figure, our expectation is at the end of the program in the rural areas to have more than 100,000 of authorization requested to the municipalities. This is the amount of bureaucracy that we have to manage.
Thank you, Alessio. So a lot of focus on communication towards the, let's say, the upper layer. That means the territories and the governments. Thank you. Christoph, what is your position from Germany?
I can certainly relate to what Alessio said regarding the challenge to communicate, especially electronically or within digital processes with the with all the different layers of government and administration. As you might not know, Germany has a federal system, so we have a lot of independence for all the different actors, and you have a lot of interaction between different layers of government for one project. So it's not only the authorization from the municipality for the measure itself, but usually it's along a road. So you have road authorities, you need to consult them where you need permission, etc. There has been quite a long-term project to digitize those permissions and to have at least a first prototype of such a service to issue and request those authorizations electronically. That has been lingering around. We have, as an industry, put some pressure behind this. So now we see a slow deployment of those systems going on in several municipalities in Germany. But unless you quoted the number, and I can relate to that, not all of those municipalities are requested to introduce this service, but it's voluntarily. It's voluntary on the layer of our federal states. So the federal government can do almost nothing, and then the municipalities or the counties in between are still independent too. So that is still a big headache operationally. Internally and within, and Marigi, you mentioned that our contractors, external planners, etc., we use fully digitized systems to communicate with them and share information. Also internally, we have a relatively strict project flow with digital handover points between different units within Deutsche Glasfaser to not miss any relevant project milestones, like, oh, do I have initiated the backbone? Is there electricity for the POP? Whatever needs to be thought of in the rollout process. But for us, the rollout process starts with analyzing, is a commercial project feasible for which kind of subset of addresses? then I need to contact the municipality, see if there's any cooperation with them possible. If that's possible, I go into demand aggregation. I have to consult with my wholesale partners. So each area, each subset of address in a different municipality goes through the same process, and that's obviously includes not only the internal collaborators but also external ones. You need to have sales services included. You need planners. You need then the subcontractors and everything else. So there's a lot going on to raise the efficiency, and that's, I think, the message you wanted, the positive one. We can still raise a lot of efficiencies, not only with the municipalities, but also internally and externally within our own project line. And that's innovation is constant at that.
And on this point of efficiency for process management, given the complexity of this operation, Alessio, how do you manage your internal financial planning in terms of concrete processes and tools, maybe to enable you to follow up your plans, your development plans? Can you share that with the audience?
Well, in Open Fibre, we have a classical standard methodology in order to manage the planning. So we have a business plan on several years, and this business plan is declining year by year with a budget. What is important, and I think that it's something that it's very important also for us, is that the financial model and the operating model are aligned. It means that they have the same data model at the basis, and in this way we can have quasi real-time actual on the consumption of the budget. In this way, we can find if there are variation in which is expected, in which is forecasted, and so we can act promptly with the feedback. We can change our plan, we can change some projects and so on. So what is important is, from my point of view, maybe from digital technical point of view, is that financial and the operative model should have the same data model. In this way, the process flows up to down, down to up, and you have the possibility to track variation and to act promptly. This is what we do in Open Fibre. Thanks to a lot of digitization, as Christoph said before, we have a relationship by system with our contractor and subcontractor, so everything it's in our system, and we can make some decision based on data.
Yes, and this is very interesting, especially for us in Sitetracker. However, before we move to the next poll and digitalization questions, I would like to ask a question about how do you see the role of efficiency evolving in the deployment process, and what are the best practices that the operators could adopt from you that you can share, of course? Christoph, you want to answer first?
So if we talk about what is the model of Open Fibre? The model of Open Fibre, it's a model in which a lot of activity are outsourced. It means that from the design to the network construction, we have contractor and subcontractor that help us in this activity. So what is important in the relationship with them is that they use our system and they input data in a way that is the data has a quality and the data has an accuracy. Because based on the accuracy and the quality of the data they fill in our system, we can take decision, and if everything flows in this way, also the payment towards the contractors is quite automatic. It's the best way in order to maintain a good relationship between us and them, based on data, based on facts that we can see in our systems.
Yeah, let me add something on the efficiency. Usually you strive for efficiency, but sometimes if you're in a very dynamic market with a lot of market entry, especially in the rollout competition, then efficiency has to climb into the back seat, and the front seat is taken by speed, because you need to decide or build faster than somebody else to claim certain territory. So that, depending on how your market looks like, how your current competition situation is, efficiency has to wait for its turn. But if you go back to efficiency, I would like to highlight two things. One is internally, apart from what Alessio said, and which we would underline anyway, is that more and more you need to have automated system in place to check quality and progress of your subcontractors. For instance, if you have automated OTDR measurements, etc., to really see how far and how good they're building. And the other thing is, I'm coming back to the theme Alessio launched with the authorities. We have managed, after 4 years, to set together in Germany a standard for, we call it, modern construction methods. So methods that allow us to put networks, fiber networks, underground in a more modern way, depending on the requirements that fiber networks have, compared to copper. So a reduced deployment depth, all the processes I can use, from trenching, mini trenching, nano trenching, you name it, to we call it, to either guided or unguided drilling systems, whatever you need, to give guidance to the authorities, and either small or big authorities that have to decide on your authorizations to build. They need guidance, and up to now they had only guidance for copper networks, and that kept you sometimes from gaining the deployment efficiencies you can get with fiber too. And we managed now with our new DIN to capture those efficiencies, and we're bringing them now to the administration. So that might be something that is also valuable for our administrations in other member states, because it raises efficiency and also sustainability, because it uses less fuel for your deployment.
Thank you, Gustav. I think we can transition to the next poll, which I will immediately launch. So the question that we asked to our audience is, what do you believe is the most significant challenge in broadband deployment today? Well, that's a $1 million question. First option is regulatory hurdles, stakeholder collaboration, workforce or other resources constraints being the third option, and reliance on manual processes. So we are more really to question maybe for operator and contractors on these topics. But I can see that yeah, the audience is engaging with the poll. We have a third of them having already responded. Yep. So I'll give it another 30 seconds. We start to see some clear trends among the respondents. Okay, let me close the poll and share the result with you. So the winner is tension comes really from the lack of workforce and other resources for 55% of the respondents. The second is the lack of cooperation between stakeholders, and to a lesser extent, our audience perceive the regulatory hurdle as being something blocking the deployment of fiber today. Maybe a very quick word, or maybe, you know what, I think I'll leave it and transition to the next question, because we are a little bit short of time, and I think it's probably better to move to the next series of questions, Amerigo, which are important topic we haven't covered yet.
Yeah, yes, indeed, Vincent. And actually, it's interesting to read that the reliance on manual processes was the least voted question. That shows that, to a certain degree, digitalization of processes has taken place widely. So I address directly the question. So what role does digitization play in your various stages, like planning, design, construction? And how can operators and contractors harness it optimally? Alessio?
As I tried to explain before, Open Fibre is a data-driven company. It means that everything it's in the system. For each task, we know whose is the ownership, what is the plan. In particular, in these stages, such as planning, design, construction, we have a GIS system that is PNI, that is a GIS system, and everything it's in there. So if you want to plan and you are our contractor, you have to do it in this system. And in this system, you also, once you have something that is designed, you have to document if everything is done during the deploy of the network. So also the people on field has a direct interface, mobile interface with this system, and this system they can put the what are the progress in this in their activity, and this is automatically transformed in a bill of quantity, and this is automatically pushed to the accounting system in order to generate an invoice, a bill towards from them to us, in order to pay directly from what they have registered in the system. And for us, it's very important, because is the way not only for this step of network creation, but also for the other activities that are the activation, the final user, and the maintenance of the network. We have an asset that is consistent. On top of this GIS, there are some business process managers, as for example Sitetracker, and we use to track all the activities that we push to the workforce.
Thank you, Alessio, for your insight. For the sake of, let's say, time respect for all participants, I may ask maybe the next question directly to Christoph. So how are data-driven insights reshaping the broadband deployment process in Deutsche Glasfaser? And can you share some examples or where you are relying on data to improve the efficiency?
I sure can. And just let me come back to the last question. Alessio perfectly described how you do a modern broadband deployment process, and how to design your relationship, especially with the contractors. And what is sometimes forgotten, is very important to have a digital proof of documentation, because you will need that further on, not only to pay the contractor, but for the decades to come to operate your network anyway. Yeah, data is driving deployment, but it's also driving your and our views on which kind of areas we are able to deploy in an economically sustainable way. And that's why the life begins with data, either public available data and then data that we gather by our specifically constructed cars that collect visual and radar 3D data of the whole area. Surfaces of either roads or areas next to roads, sidewalks, etc., of the highest importance to garner the idea and garner also information which kind of deployment processes you're able to use, how many meters you have to deploy, how many meters lengthwise, how many meters to the houses, where you can cross, etc. And all these informations gathered by the cars digitally are transferred automatically to our planning system. And therefore, they are able to, in a very quick way, are able to deduce how to shape an area to make it economically sustainable or not. In addition, these surface informations are also quite of importance if there is any dispute with local authority on how did the surface look before we came and how does it look afterwards. Usually it looks better, but sometimes they think it looks worse. That's something, and where we need more data-driven insights, at least in Germany, is into third-party infrastructures. A lot of those infrastructures are documented in a way that is not digitally, automatically accessible, but sometimes it's on paper because it's decades old, or the information is there, but reality is different. So those are areas where there's still a lot of progress to be done.
Dankeschön, Christoph. So this is a very good pass for my next question before the last poll. And I'm asking Alessio, if you can elaborate on some practical applications of geospatial integration and how they speed up your broadband rollout. How have they transformed the deployment processes?
Okay, what I can mention is the last system we implemented in Open Fibre, that is an application called Real City. It's a digital twin of the territory. In what we have done in the walk-in phase, so before the designing, with some surveys and with some particular techniques based on 360-degree photos and LiDAR technologies, we import all of these data, and with a close relationship with the GIS system, we can open an eye remotely on the territory when our contractors are designing the best path in order to reach the households. It means that what can be done in a different way is that if you have to do or to refine the project, you don't need to have additional surveys. It means that from the point of view of efficiency, you have less costs and that you have less time. And in addition, it's a sustainable way to make the same work than before.
Very interesting. Digital twins are a very interesting innovation in our sector. All right, so Vincent, launch
maybe before we launch the poll, I would like to maybe ask a question coming from our audience. We have quite a lot of vendor in the audience, and I think the question is indirectly related to what we are discussing in terms of planning, but to what extent this also concerns your procurement side, because the question I have is from a manufacturer a supplier of product side, the question of that person said that she feels a lot of instability from operators, with emphasis on price, production time, lack of preparation, visibility. So they are complaining a little bit about the lack of visibility for their own planning. You know, it's a chain, and to what extent, I guess, do you also factoring the side of the procurement in your planning, and how that can be impacted with everything you've discussed? Because many seem to question that as well.
Christopher, my answer is that yes, we know that everything should be relied to the planning, also for the purchase office activity. And one of the projects for us on the next year is to digitalize also this step, for example, from the need of the network to organize the contest and for the purchase office, in order to be on track, in order also to give visibility to the partner of our program.
Yeah, I can mirror that. Basically, we're not yet the car industry with a very just-in-time supply chain, due to the fact that this industry is quite young, and we have been focusing on internal and then relationships for with the highest priority on the contractor side. But as Alessio said, we need to think about this blind spot too.
Okay, well, I think so. The question was relevant from our audience. Thanks for your answer. Let me launch the last poll. We're running out of time a little bit, but I think it's still worth having that interaction with the audience. So I'm launching the poll. What do you think will be the most critical for achieving the aims of the Gigabit Society vision for 2025? Either improving stakeholder collaboration, funding and capital planning. Third option, digitizing dated manual processes, or maybe none of the above. We are collecting answers, and I won't wait too long to share the result, because I think we have a very clear level of answers, which is now starting to define itself. So funding and capital planning seems to be the key driver for that answer, and then it's more balanced between the three other options. So maybe back to you, Amerigo. I think we have 2 minutes left. Maybe we should offer a word of conclusion from both panelists.
Yes, maybe you can, Alessio and Christoph, conclude this very interesting webinar by drawing your statements and your conclusions on, let's say, what you think are the biggest opportunity for this industry to achieve the ambitious targets of the Gigabit Society in Europe.
Yeah. So what I can say is that if I see the market in terms of requests of performances, in terms of bandwidth, in terms of latency, in terms of high capacity, our mission to create a ultra broadband FTTH network is in line with this expectation. So at the end of this journey, the result is to have people using our network, because it's a future-proof future-proof network. So it's, I said before, it's a challenging project, but we like challenges and we are working on it.
Yeah, let me add to that. Open Fibre, Deutsche Glasfaser, and all the fiber operators around Europe are building the most sustainable and future-proof networks. So we figured out how to do that. I think that the challenge for 2024 and beyond is to make sure that the demand is more adequately addressed, not only from the operators themselves, but also from policy and government. And unless you talked about that already, we need to make sure that copper switch off is non-discriminatory and as fast as possible. We need to make sure that open access and the usage of those wholesale and open network access networks also by the SMP operators is understood and incentivized. So do everything for demand to be able to cut up copper fast, not only helps with the deployment of broadband, but also to achieve the EU Green Deal goals.
Very much agreed. So, Vincent, I leave you the key to the closing of this event. From my side, I would like to thank the FTTH Council, Alessio and Christophe, and of course, all the attendees that are online that have expressed questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Amerigo. It's my time also to share yourself for making that event possible, and of course, our panelists. Again, the replay will be shared with the audience, so you will be able to have access to the full session for those who could not attend live. And also, again, the FTTH Council's website contains a lot of content which enables to further gain insight on the different topics which have been mentioned by Alessio and Christophe on the state of deployment, on demand, on business model. All these data are available from our website, so we definitely encourage you to go there. Thank you again for our audience. Thanks for the panelists. We will have the pleasure to welcome you on another session in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Invitation and communication about these will come very soon. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.